All right, guys, welcome back. We've got a special podcast with you. We've got Malkoth, we've got Tad Dawes, and we've got Lucifer Morningstar to discuss the state of Marvel Future Fight and how to get ahead for new players. We're going to be discussing PvE content and World Boss, and we're going to debate which tunes are the best there for new players. And we're going to work our way onto discussing PvP and its issues, its tax, and how to get ahead of the game. So, first of all, everybody, good to be here with you all. Thank you for coming.
Yo,
What's
And
up,
hey,
everyone?
you're welcome.
yes,
Good to be here.
yes, I'm glad to get all of you here with me to discuss one of my favorite games that is pretty troubled, I would say. But you guys are experts in your craft, I will say, and you guys really go out of your way to help new players succeed in this game. So, given that I'm a PvP player, I'm going to let you guys go over World Boss, and I'm going to let you guys talk about the state of PvE and how new players can get ahead. So let's start with Malkoth, because Malkoth is, big time YouTuber, and his videos have been very, very successful, and he's made a lot of guides that really help players out.
Well, thank you for the huge shout out, Marine Velvet, but I wouldn't say I'm a big time YouTuber. I just try to help new players as much as I can to the best of my knowledge. Like, I'm not saying that I'm giving the best advice, but I'm really trying that advice that I give is mostly tested, you know? So I'm not just making things up that I tell players. I like to test things for myself and see if the character is a good option for free to play beginner players or even beginner players who spend money. When I'm talking about characters that are good options for PvE, 5 to 6 characters that can cover multiple game modes and actually perform really well. Uh, I want when I recommend to build some character for DPS, trying to make that character is good not only in Warboss Legend but at least in one other game mode. Usually that's Alliance Battle because you do get a lot of necessary resources from Alliance Battle and it's quote unquote like an end game PvE game mode as well as like Warboss Legend plus pushing. Ahead and say the top 5 characters that I think are the best for PvE overall that new players should prioritize. And this there isn't any given order in building these characters, but so you can pick and choose which one of them. So Storm is number one. She is really easy to get through the Epic Quest, a free to play character. And when you buy her uniform, which is no longer a seasonal uniform, you can breeze through every single piece of content that she's usable in. So she is actually meta in Alliance Battle content, and she's really, really good in World Boss Legend and even World Boss Legend Plus. Not the best character, but she's definitely one of the best in the game when you combine everything else. The when you combine everything that she can do. So the second character I would recommend, and this is primarily focused on players who do not spend money, is Dark Gwenpool. Dark Gwenpool is like insane in terms of value she provides. She is a villain. She's a female, and she's a speed type. And the speed females are the most requested type for Alliance Battle content. And she's actually amazing in every piece of content. Like, sure, if you are willing to spend money and wait, then yes, Mona Snow is definitely better overall than Dark Gwenpool, but Dark Gwenpool is a worthy replacement for worthy replacement for Luna Snow for free-to-play players. The third character is another Epic Quest character, which is Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange in his zombie uniform is the definitive blast villain character in the game. He hits like a truck. He clears vulnerable stages easily. He caps alliance battle scores easily. One of the best PvE characters in the game. Yes, he's a native tier 2, but he is a half-cost character that you unlock through Epic Quest, and then you just buy his uniform and you start rampaging through every single piece of content. So that is, for now, that's Storm, that's Dark Gwenpool, and that's Doctor Strange. The fourth character is kind of a flex character to me because there are two options. Like you can, if you want the cheaper way, should I say, you can just build Hulk because you can even get him for free now at through the guided quest. And then just slap him with double max HP proc obelisk, and he will perform pretty decent in World Boss Legend content and Alliance Battle. Then later you can replace it with a rage when you get the rage, or you can go the more expensive route but more flexible route and buy the new Winter Soldier uniform where he is a speed type, and his combat villain uniform where he is, well, a combat villain, because Winter Soldier can actually perform better, way better in World Boss Legend than Hulk can, but Hulk is slightly better, from my testing at least, in endgame Alliance Legend content pushing. So that's a flex slot for me. The final and the fifth slot is somewhere where you can start building supports. We have, but supports who are actually DPSs that can clear normal World Boss Legend for me and for you guys. So it's either new Ghost Rider or Dr. Voodoo. The reason, and I'm more lenient towards Dr. Voodoo for new players, because Dr. Voodoo has amazing leadership, which will help you clear the dispatch missions and push them higher for multiple free rewards through the claim all button in the dispatch missions, which will really help new players. And he is proc friendly, so you can play him with an obelisk. He hits like a truck, and then later on, when you tier 4 him, way later down the line, you can use him as a good support for World Boss Legend Plus content. If you do not like that kind of a gameplay, then you can just build your Ghost Rider. If you happen to hit his artifact, then you can maybe use him to a certain success in PvP, get some crystals, not much, you won't get far with all the Ghost Rider, but yeah, those are my top 5 characters for new players currently. There are certain honorable mentions like Hela, like Captain Marvel, but because Captain Marvel is soon going to get new uniform, I really wanted to exclude her from this list because I don't know what future holds, but currently this is what I think is generally a really good value for someone who wants to start playing Marvel Future Fight. So tell me, what do you guys think about it?
I do mostly agree with it, but I would actually put them in a different order. Storm is obviously going to be first because she is easily the best PvE tune in the game. Mephisto is better in ABL, but he's limited by his tags. The other specifically, as he's not alien or human, so he's kind of fucked in that department. He can do no restriction content just fine. It's just he's limited in the stuff that requires specific tags. And also, it does help that, though not many people will say this, but she is actually proc friendly if you play her a certain way. Because she has a low hit count, she's fairly easy to proc with as well. Second is where I put Ghost Rider, because he does a lot of content and has good damage, and as we all know, has the good PvP usage as well. Even without his artifact, you can just, because his main skill is now an iframe, you can swap him in, do that skill without risk of dying, and then you'll die. He's not as risky as the old uni was, where you would die whilst doing that skill. On top of, it massively improved his autoplay rotation with the new uniform, where he actually focuses on 4, 5, and it's either 2 or 3, one of those, So he's good for farming now, which he wasn't previously because he would never use his fourth skill, which is where all his damage is. In third place, I have Hela, but I do have some bias towards her simply because not many people did her justice, so I find her very underrated. She does a lot of content, decent tags, very good damage to the point she will do endgame content better than some tunes with additional pierce. She's actually decent in ABL, can cover Jean Grey's stages, and there's support for both PvE and PvP. PvE wise, you get her lead and the ignore dodge, which is invaluable in all content, and PvP, you get damage against heroes and damage received from heroes. So, such as Sentry, she can be a game changer against him. And if you get her artifact, she is a great dealer for stuff like OWB and AC, and can provide some good cannon fodder for TLB. In fourth place, I've got Winter Soldier or Gwenpool. Gwenpool for the reasons you listed, but the reason that I've got her as an optional, not Hela's, because she is very nasty to play with a proc. She is very difficult to use, and Mini Rage just doesn't do very good performance-wise. I've had them both. I just didn't like Gwenpool's performance for me, so I just left her as she was, removed her CTP, and haven't touched her since. Winter Soldier for the reasons Malkoff listed, but it's also because he covers two separate tags: combat, male, villain, human, which are Hulk stages, and he's significantly better in Rubiel in World Boss than Hulk, because Hulk has never been good at that. And in Endgame, he is actually the replacement to Hulk, as well as Kingpin, but that's a different matter. And he also covers the speed hero stages for World Boss, so he's also a valuable replacement for Miles Morales. So he covers two separate tags with two uniforms, and last time I checked, they are both proc friendly, which is very useful because, as I've said, mini rages just don't do very good. A proc goes up to 200% damage, a mini rage goes up to 75%. Even the lowest roll on a rage will do more than that. And last, I have Doctor Strange. I have him last mainly because he's a native T2 and is far more expensive. Besides that, the lists are pretty much the same, just different reasons and different placements for prioritizing them.
Understood. Very good. So the major disagreement was the placements, and you input Hella there, which I could definitely see why. Like, Hella definitely has hybrid value, and
Yeah, and also she is very proc friendly and very easy to play. The issue is her slow damage build up. It takes about 20 seconds per burst because all her damage is behind her T3.
That's true. That's true. And guys, I wasn't, when I listed characters, I said in no particular order. So do not think that this was, I wasn't really thinking about order. I was just more like, let's just tell you what are the five characters you should build. Like, obviously, we won't build like Doctor Strange first or second, because by the time you finish his epic quest, because you will hit a lot of roadblocks when you have to do dimension missions, search missions, blah blah blah, and farm materials. By that time, you can just buy like Winter Soldier's uniforms or Storm's uniforms and play with the functional characters that can actually do a lot. Ghost Rider as well.
Yeah, I rank them because I'm kind of picky and like to be very specific about, value, how they perform, where they perform, and what they can use.
Gotcha. So Tad, giving these two lists from Malkoth and Lucifer, what do you think? What would your input be?
All right. So basically, both of their lists were very good, and I highly agree on both of them. But the route that I will be taking is that I will be taking native characters off to make the characters that I will list more accessible to other players. Now, don't get me wrong, the characters that they have listed are very good. Doctor Strange, who's a native tier 2, probably one of the best in the game. Yes, but I would rather not include native tier 2s or native tier 3s to have more of an accessible route or more a broad route for those new players. So for the first character, again, this is not on list because I don't have the list in my mind, but the first character, it is going to be Storm for me. Now, not only is she really good for Alliance Battle Extreme and Legends for those two mutant days, she can also be a viable option for World Boss Legends and World Boss Legend Plus. On top of that, you can get her biometrics for free on both XGN Selector, or you can get it through the Epic Quest. So that's more accessible for all players. And because she recently got out of seasonal, you can get her uniform right now or even on discount for down to 800 crystals, which is really, really good. The second character I have in mind, it is Ghost Rider. Now, there was some controversy in the when he got released. However, the controversy was later on fixed. And the reason I chose him is not only can he do PvE content greatly, he can also do PvP as well, as long as you have his artifact. And he can be very, very good, a viable option, in fact, for some of the PvP games. As for the PvE side, he can climb a lot since his typing is very common, so it will be viable for climbing World Boss Legends, and it can also be used in some Alliance Battle days. The next character that I have, it is going to be Dark Gwenpool. She's also the same reason as listed both from Malkuth and Lucifer. She's easy to play with. You can use a proc obelisk if you wanted to, if you know how to play her right on that. And she's very viable for Alliance Battle Extreme and Legends. And on top of that, she has probably one of the most common typing in the game. The next character that I have in mind, it might sound a little controversial, but personally for me, I would choose Venom. Now, Venom, he's really, really good, and you can use him for the Alliance Battle Extreme and Legend days that are the combat hero, and for also climbing World Boss Legends. He is. You can also use him as a proc obelisk until you get a rage, since that's what I have done in the when I got him first time. He's really good, and you can climb with him using Venom. He's really good, and I do recommend him in my opinion. The last character in my mind, it is going to be Winter Soldier. The same reason provided by both is that you can use his combat villain uniform to replace Hulk for those days, and you can also a speed hero to also have a viable replacement for that of Miles Morales. So that is my 5 characters listed.
Very,
List.
very good. Do you guys have any input to that? Because I think Tad's list was very unique.
Yeah, I would kind of say against Venom because he's not actually proc friendly. He starts with 2 different delays. Unless you mess with his rotation, that's not proc friendly. And Gwenpool, proc not easy to play. It is doable. It is not easy. I would, and Venom, he only covers 2 AB days because there are only 1 ABX, 1 ABL. He doesn't actually do that much. On top of that, he doesn't. His scores aren't that high. He's like a second or third best option alongside Wolverine, but that's something else. His main focus is World Boss. It has been for the last 3 years, where he's been World Boss meta. He's great. He's good for AB. He just isn't meta or even close to it. So I would suggest someone else with better usage and just better better versatility in damage and whatnot.
Venom, in my opinion, isn't getting enough praise. Honestly, like people just say, like, yeah, Venom is really good for World Boss Legend, and that's it. But he's not just good; he's really good for World Boss Legend. Like my Venom with a regular CTP of Rage is and no artifacts and like no Odin's blessings, blah blah blah. He's performing better at World Boss Legends than characters that have full Odin's blessings and like mighty rages, mighty competitions, you know? He's really, really good in World Boss Legend stages. But yeah, overall I would pick someone else just because Venom is like Lucifer said, he can be used in 2 days of Alliance battle, but there are characters that can overall provide more value. And currently, because the new uniforms are so powerful, pretty much every single character can clear normal World Boss Legends, like up to stage 9 or even 20 if they are, if if they are available for those restrictions. This is why I listed like Dr. Voodoo as one of the options, because Dr. Voodoo, not only can he crush World Boss Legends, I'm talking about normal World Boss Legends, but he can also be used to help you like burst through the dispatch missions farming, which will give you a lot of resources. But yeah, these are really, really good lists, and I think we are reaching the consensus. Like all of us agree that Storm is definitely one of the best characters.
One
Every
of only 2, maybe 3 characters in the entire game who can actually outscore Jean Grey without team up collection. That's something people forget when they try to say Strange is better than her. I had them with an equal build, equal performance. He did not come close. He did very good. He just would not outscore her no matter what I did.
Yeah, I have infinite words of praise for Storm. I completely agree. Like we all agree that Ghost Rider is amazing. We all agree that like Dark Gwenpool or like Lucy said, Hela, they're really, really
Mm.
good. Winter Soldier, we all agree that he's really good. So yeah, I think this is a decent list. We've come to consensus that these are the, let's say, 5 to 6, 7 characters if we include like Venom and Hela and Doctor Voodoo that new players should prioritize. And honestly, we won't make a mistake as a new player, beginner player, whatever, if you build any of these characters. Like, you won't make a mistake, that's for sure.
Yeah, and just to point out how good Venom actually is, he's been World Boss meta for the past 3 years straight since his King in Black uniform. There's been a few combat heroes who came out after him, not one of them beat him in World Boss, not even Gladiator, who was actually the first toon in the game who could cap ABX with a Mighty Rage before that cap was raised. As for Agent Voodoo, I've only just transcended him. I've yet to get his uniform, so I didn't actually know he was that good yet.
Yeah, Dr.
Really,
Voodoo is very good, especially for the hybrid uses, and I'm glad you guys included hybrid characters in your lists as well.
Yeah, people undervalue hybrids, even if just because they tend to not do as good in specific modes as other toons. Others tend to focus on one toon who's good at a single mode, recommending stuff like Iron Man, Human Torch, who only do World Boss. Loki because he's free but only good at AB.
yeah. Like, and Loki is actually quite decent in dispatch mode farming, but hey, you have Storm, you have Doctor Strange, they can do well there too, right? Even
Yeah.
Ghost Rider. So I don't
Absolutely.
see a point in building Loki nowadays.
Just
He
because he's
also lost.
free doesn't mean you should build him. Although Spider Gwen, not one of the top 5 options anymore, but not a bad option. She's still free as well.
Yeah, you get her as transcend potential for free as a new player.
Yeah, she can be, but I really wouldn't build her to level 80. Like, just get her to like level 72 so you can
Yeah.
Yes,
get that ignore
exactly.
dodge cap and crush roll
Exactly.
bosses. Like, I did this a year ago when I did my free to play series. Like, I easily beat Null, like on day 10, let's say, without any rush, with
Yeah,
Spider-Gwen and 160 or 140 proc, I don't remember. And then as soon as I hit her potential, which was like in a few days, I got her to level 72 and she was crushing him in like 2 minutes. So it's
yeah,
really
you
easy to
need
hit.
an easy, quick world boss replacement, and later on you can replace her with Doctor Strange.
Yep,
Yep.
exactly.
Very, very good input, guys. Tad, would you like to get the final say? Because we were talking about Venom, and Venom both got very controversial, positive but negative response. So, what would you have to say?
Well, the only thing that I will say is, yes, I do agree that for Alliance Battle, he may not be the best. However, he could be usable for some people. Like, for example, for me, even though I have a maxed out build Black Panther, I wouldn't use him over Venom because my Black Panther doesn't usually get that high of a score compared to Venom. But for recommending for new players, yes, there are much more other viable options because then those other viable options can still do more Alliance Battle days and World Boss Legends compared to Venom. But Venom is still, he can be still used very, very well for World Boss Legends and can be usable for Alliance Battle if you want.
Uh, just to add to
Definitely.
Black Panther, that's not exactly a fair comparison because
Not really, no.
he's focused on World Boss. He was never good at
Yes.
AB. He's slightly worse than Moon Knight, who was one of the earliest T4s in the game. He beats him in
Correct.
one specific season. That's it.
Yep.
True, true. I learned a lot from you guys here because I'm not a PvE player at all. I'm more directed towards PvP. And of course, there's a lot to discuss when we talk about PvP because in PvE, if you understand and build these specific tunes, you can get ahead in all PvE while you work on your cards and your swords and things like that. And as we move on to PvP, it becomes more of end game content. And it's very controversial because the meta there are very strict and the builds are very specific. So you'll notice in a new game mode like ranked battle, right? I think it's called ranked battle. You'll get the best accounts fighting each other and you'll get the chance to cheer. And it's been the talk of Marvel Future Fight for the past week or so on who really has the best account in the game. And we came across Tinkerton, King Davy, WNG players, Axe players, Arca players. These clans are really, really high and they have massive whales with perfect accounts. So,
Yeah.
with the results coming in, and I think is the final still taking place?
Yes, the final
Yeah.
step.
Yeah, and also PvE has a set meta. It's non-negotiable. You know who's exactly where everyone is on the value board. But PvE, it is heavily debatable. So there's no set who's best and whatnot and whatnot. That.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys had a very fair debate here for PvE because, there were characters that you guys included that aren't necessarily perfect, but could still help can still help new players get ahead, of course, because that's very, very important. Because new players, they're pretty intimidated when they're first coming in because they have so much to do, they have so much to build. There's 280 characters to choose from, which ones are good, which ones aren't. So moving on, so let's talk about ranked battle and the new game mode, and let's talk
Yeah,
about
it's
some of
naughty.
these whales, man, because I had all of my votes for Dave the Brave, and he failed me, man.
Yeah, in fact, I actually learned shortly after that Tinkerton is a new whale. Not he's lesser known. He's only been playing for about a year, little over that.
Mm,
So everyone's been underestimating him. I
yeah.
also learned in Alliance Tournament, which this new mode is based off of, Tinkerton is the only player to consistently give Davy issues. That's saying something for a new player. He's been regarded as having the best null, the hardest to beat null in Marvel Future Fight. It took an entire alliance of Wales 27 attempts to beat his null in AC. That's saying something.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
Very
that's
Yeah,
impressive. Yep.
unbelievable.
Yeah, there's an axe guy in the tourney who has quite a bit higher HP, 30,000 to be exact, but his is nowhere near as challenging, which is surprising because you'd expect higher stats to be better.
Yeah, I mean these guys that are in the tournament, they're coming in with Sentry with the most HP I've ever seen. Like I remember back in the day when you got meta like Gilgamesh with like the highest amount of HP in timeline battle, and it was like somewhere towards like you can maybe push it to 800 Now with the elite gear too, that bumps up HP or whatnot, you are seeing sentries now that are getting bumped up to over 1 million HP, and that includes King Davy's century. I think it was 1.06 mil. Do you know how crazy that is? That is
Yeah,
unbelievable
I
stat
still
marks.
remember. I still remember when Baby Groot was meta, the seasonal uniform as well. Also, Yellow Jacket. Now that was a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that too. That's when I was getting top 100 with Deathlock to
Yeah,
counter.
the Anti-Man meta. That was fun.
Yeah, the Anti-Man meta, the Jean Grey and Thanos with Colossus meta. That was pretty fun
Or
to beat.
the Thanos and Captain Marvel Endgame meta.
Yep, true, true. Yeah,
No one liked that.
we reminisce on the old PvP and how there were actually ways to bypass the meta. And now
Yeah, when fights actually lasted instead of a quick 30-second match.
exactly. And it's funny because to imagine King Davy and Tinkerton going at it for like a full minute and a half where they can't even kill their meta is
Mm.
actually a freaking crazy thought, you know.
Yeah, and Davey only losing because he had less HP when the timer ran out. Tinkerton had Sentry and Null still alive. Davey only had Null. That is the only reason he lost that fight. If he could have changed his team setup, which wasn't allowed at if you set it at the start of the tourney, you cannot change it. If he could have changed his team, he might have won that.
Yeah, I mean, this is why tactics play an important role because, you could have the best account and the best accounts are so close to each other. Like, it's very hard to differentiate. And if you don't pick the right tactic, you'll get caught. You have to have both your meta with appropriate defense, you have to position them certain well, leaderships are important, etc., etc.
Yeah,
So,
what was really funny about the tournament is MPKB Pedro. He lost on the first match. I've yet to learn whether it was RNG, whether he set up bad team, or forgot to change his cards to the PvP set. I don't know what it is, but that is the man who dominated Challenger Timeline for over a year without the need to spam refills to win. He's one of the few who could do that. He dominated Challenger with ease, and yet he lost on the first round.
yeah, it's very, very interesting.
Tinkerton is a rising star here. Definitely, he's a rising star. Like I voted,
Absolutely.
and I'm gonna be honest, I voted because when I go to his account, you can see like his agent level is like 300 and
Wow.
let me check, 320. Yeah, and he's facing against Nemesis guys who have like currently in the finals. He's facing against JFP, and his agent level is 1050. I've
Yeah,
seen
10
people with
year
like,
whale, 10-year-old
yeah,
Giga Whales
yeah, like
versus 1-year-old Giga Whale.
really good player. And I voted against Tinkerton every
hmm
single time, and every single time I lost. So huge shout out to Tinkerton. You have cracked something that none of us have. So this is amazing. So that's for the
Absolutely.
players. And as far as the game mode goes, I think that this game mode is a complete joke and a
Hmm.
complete disgrace to and a huge slap to 99.9% of the community, of the player base of Marvel Future Fight who have been playing this game for years. Like we had our 10-year anniversary, and like there's still people who are passionate about this game and really want to get into this game, keep playing this game, and then they release a content ranked tournament game mode that is for like top 30 players, even less. Like how? Who is making decisions about this game? Like, sure, you get to vote. You don't participate in any other way by voting, and you get free CTPs. You get some tier 4 materials. You can get some elite gear materials, or tier 3 materials if you need them. Like, you can gamble some tier chests. So you do get good rewards for voting. But seriously, is this where development time is going? Like,
Also,
and
they locked crystals to only those competing, by far the most valuable material in the entire game.
yeah, like there is even if I like forget about the rewards because this is the easiest CTP we've ever gotten, honestly, apart from free
Absolutely.
CTPs that we get. Yeah, this is really easy. Like everyone can cheer and luckily get one win or one successful cheer and get a CTP chest. Like I
Yeah.
missed most of my cheers and I still have like over 3,000 the cheer tokens so I can get the CTP and tier 4 materials or elite gear materials or gamble on the cheer chest. So it's really, really easy for players to get. So if you close your eyes and just imagine this whenever you see a pop-up ranked tournament for 99.9% of players, if you close your eyes and you see ranked tournament pop up, you can treat it as a free CTP, free tier 4 materials, blah, blah, blah. But overall, I think that this game mode is a huge slap in the face to Marvel Future Fight community and its player base, especially those who've been playing for 10 plus years, because, like, why would you make a game mode that's only covering 0.01% of the players? Like, how many people are percent of the players. Like, how many people are participating? Like 16? Really?
And there's, last time I checked, the forums, at least on desktop, has a counter for how many people are in the game, and it's around about 2.6 million, something like that.
Yes. And you have to reach Challenger on one of the PvP game modes. And on top of reaching Challenger, you're going to need to reach like what, top 20, top 16 in that Challenger mode. And then after that, if you're lucky, you're going to get chosen. And then I think I'm not sure how it works because there was like 30 people, and then out of those, there was only 16 that came into the round of 16. So after all of that, and then basically just locking it to those small amount of player base, that's kind of like a game mode gone. Like basically, if they tried to make it a little more simpler to expand more players into it, then it would have been a much better game mode. But there is just that one plus side where no matter how much you vote, how much you cheer, you're going to get a CTP chest regardless of even if you lose like one or two of them. If you just as long as you win one of them or even two, then you would get a CTP chest for free. On top of that, getting tier 4 materials.
Yeah, I think that Netmarble is always so stingy with their crystal rewards, and they've barely changed them. Granted, they've added new PvP modes like Team Battle Arena, so people have just another game mode to get crystals on. But
Unfortunately, with that, Team Battle is unplayable for those on iOS. You will not manage any more than 4 matches without it crashing.
yep,
And it resets every 20 days, so you've got a long wait for crystals. OWB reset is every 55 days, which is even longer for crystals, almost 3 times as much.
yeah, I mean, I have an iOS device also, and I literally have to reset the game every 3 matches just to avoid crashing because, yes, it will crash, and yes, it will crash when you get a win and not when you get a loss. So it's very,
Yeah.
very weird, and it's leading on to us talking about PvP and its issues, and Malkoth had a lot to say about PvP and in regards to how there's been a lot of characters that have come in that are brand new and nobody has any idea where to put them.
Yeah.
Also, when they made OWB, they added a feature where if you crash, you could restart the fight. I actually use this method intentionally quite a lot to reset a battle just because it goes wrong early on. and yet they didn't implement it in the new mode and are very unlikely to even consider putting it in the old ones, which could desperately use it.
I was planning making a new because that's one of the most requested things from my viewers is to make a brand new player guide, beginner player guide, whatever,
Yeah.
to for characters to build for PvE and PvP. Now I've been looking at the PvP meta, and like I know there are more than the two characters I'm going to list, but it's basically Sentry and Null. Like without Sentry
Yeah.
and Null, you cannot do anything. Like at least not as a new player. Not as a new player who is not experienced in how PvP works in Marvel Future Fights. So these two characters are native tier 3 characters. They're the most expensive characters in the game, and you have to shill out like 4,000 crystals on discount to buy their uniforms. On top of that, you have to, like, Null is easier to unlock because you get him through just beating him, and he is the easiest for a boss in the game. Verbose Legend, that is.
But
And for
unfortunately,
Sentry,
with him being easier, he's a self-serving toon. Null will only work for himself. Sentry, you can at least use him to create an entire team. That's something as well.
yeah, that's what I was getting to. So, for Sentry, you can like if he's more expensive, but and people ask me who is stronger, like Null or Sentry, and I'm always giving them the same answer. I think they're up to par one another. And somebody asked me during the live stream, they say, "Hey, Mallory, I started building Null instead of Sentry. Did I make a mistake?" And then I asked them, "Do you have Agent Venom's artifact?" And then they answer me, "No, I don't even have Agent Venom." And I can already know that they made a bad investment because not only do they have to get a semi-premium character in form of Agent Venom, they also need to gamble or get lucky through one of the events or wait for the artifact selector to get Agent Venom's artifact at least like 4 stars, at very least minimum 4 stars. Then they have to upgrade that character. They have to build Colossus, they have to like but Colossus, like everybody is going to build him who is
Yeah.
into PvP. And then they have to get a native tier 3 character to tier 4. Then they have to give him a really good build. Like you cannot play Null successfully with like 10% max HP on cards and 3% all basic defenses. Like you cannot do
Yep.
that. Not at this meta. Not anymore. And then you have to give him at least a mighty CTP. And we do know how starved new players are for CTPs. And you have to give him
Absolutely.
Odin's blessings. And then maybe he can compete and get you like to top 20% in like gold, platinum, vibranium, maybe, hardly.
Yeah,
Like, but
the
that's
only game mode you could really like semi compete because it's the only manual feature available is timeline battle. But in my opinion, all the other game modes like they're so auto induced and account based that it's hard to get ahead.
Yeah,
yeah,
also, I would say that the only real aspect in which Null would do better than Sentry for a new player is PvE, because
true.
despite his support dependency for PvP, he is PvE meta. He's well, not any more than that. We've got Mephisto for a day. He's a Loki substitute for AB, better than Thanos last time I checked, and he is World Boss meta.
Yeah, he is a really really flexible character, but you know everybody's building him for PvP because that's where he is best. But I fully agree with you. Null is definitely better than Sentry for PvE. If I
Yeah, and
can,
luckily, something that no one really talks about, you can stick an energy or a rage on Null, and he will still do decent in PvP. He'll get fucked a lot more, but he will still do good, as Marine knows he's currently got an energy on Null as it is.
yeah, he will do decently. He'll definitely do decently. But if I can just go back to the topic we were talking, then I'll let you guys debate this. Uh, this is the reason when because I'm trying to make a new guide, and honestly, this is something that I talked with Marine a bit. I'm thinking about not recommending for new players at all to build PvP characters.
Yeah,
Because,
I tend to tell people just avoid PvP until
yep,
you get your account up now.
exactly. Because PvP at this day and age in Marvel Future Fight is a pure end game mode. This is definitely 100% true. Like before, like people could build Spider-Man. We had like Black
We
Widow who you could play on manual and spam invisibility and beat pretty much every single team
yeah,
because nobody called
about
iframe ignore, you know?
about
There's
year and
you
a half.
cannot do that anymore. You
Yeah,
have
about
to
year and a
build
half
these icons.
ago, 2 years ago, during the Jean Grey Adam Warlock meta, we had native T1 alternatives. We had Back to Basics Spider Man, Fear itself, Hulk was usable. Can't remember who else it was because that was a long time ago. But that we had alternatives that could still take down the top ones. Now it's only natives.
Yeah, there is no replacement for like if you want to be and play PvP. Like I get review, okay, Malkut, can you review my account? This is like 4-month-old account. I just want to play PvP. And then what should my advice be? Build Sentry and Null. That will take like if he's free to play or low spender, that will take like 5 to 6 months. Build Magic. She'll perform good. Yeah, she'll perform okay if you build her to tier 4 and get her artifact and give her great build, but she won't beat Sentries and Nulls. No. You know, there are
Yeah,
no
well,
alternatives. This is why I'll probably stop advising players who are not playing for at least like 5 to 6 months to build any PvP characters. So that's my 2 cents on the current PvP situations of Marvel Future Fight. You guys tell me, what do you think about it?
yeah, for Magic, I mean, I've got her built. I actually tried a few different builds on her. She won't do great. Without a 5 or 6 star artifact, she'll be lucky to do her counter more than once because the first time she goes to do it, she gets interrupted and can't do it. She has to do it again, and then after that is when she'll die. She will one shot nuke Null regardless of her build, but she is inconsistent because she relies on low penetration and an inconsistent counter. Also, I used to recommend getting some PvP early on, but now you just straight up can't do it. When
True.
I started this account about 2 years ago, it was doable. It was not easy, but it was doable. Now it's just impossible.
Yeah, fully agreed.
Tad, what do you think?
I agree on this. Like, as Malcolm has said, no matter what we can try to do, we can't really provide any guide on what PvP character to build. Because excluding Null and Sentry, who are already going to burn through your pockets, you've got, for example, other characters like Wolverine, who is good on paper, but you're going to need his artifact, at least a 4 star. And then if you don't have that, then your Wolverine is practically useless. And then if you want to go to, for example, Magic, she's also the same reason, except you're going to need a 5 or a 6 star. So
And the
generally speaking,
Silver Surfer, he is not good. He will spawn, die, revive, maybe get a kill, then die. He gets severely overrated. He needs a stacked build now. He needs more than people.
absolutely,
Even with
absolutely,
stacked
I
builds, he's not good. Like my Silver Surfer is pretty stacked. Brilliant CTP is good max HP on cards, blah blah blah. But he cannot like he can't perform against Sentry
I
now. Like no way.
I agree with this because on top of that, he's not the best there is. But if you wanted to get him, you would have to do, I think, 5 or 7 days of Galactus giant boss raid clears because biometrics is only accessible there, and there's only like two of them per day. So while you get that, and then if you want to build another native character, because generally speaking, it's only natives that are mainly metas. There are some that are
Yeah.
none, but those are
Legit,
premium.
the only PvP toon who is arguably meta and not native is Ghost Rider. But he's basically only to be used against villains. You can't really stick him against heroes because he has a 270% damage increase to villains. He
That is
doesn't get that
also
against like a Sentry.
that is also very true as well. And if you wanted to build Carnage, he's also half meta, and you will also need his artifact. So to put
Yeah,
it shortly,
unfortunately, though I do really like Carnage, he just isn't meta anymore. I've seen
Yeah,
him max build.
he isn't
Yeah,
performing. Like Carnage is
Carnage.
one of my favorite characters. I have a brilliant CTP of refinement on him. I have 20 Odin's blessings, fully awakened, elite gear, blah blah blah, everything like 6-star artifact, plus 10, mythic uniform, everything you can do for that character. He has baseline like 180,000 HP before every bonuses gets added, and like nah. He can maybe
Yeah,
take one life out of meta character and then just die.
yeah, I really like Carnage. I stacked him out properly, but and though I wasn't Dinar for a while, he fell off when the new Sentry uniform came. Though
True.
no one would admit it, before that, Null, Carnage, Agent Venom was the best TLB team when it was maxed. Carnage would not die no matter what you did, but all his defense is focused against physical attack. Sentry just completely put an end to Carnage. I was in denial for quite some time until I just saw a maxed out one getting completely fucked.
Yeah.
that is true. Yeah, that is very true. And honestly, there's nothing that we can really do to make it any cheaper. Like, there's no alternative whatsoever. You either build a
Mm.
native tier 3, and on top of that, Null, you're going to need to build him manually, or Sentry, you're going to need to drop a lot of materials on his epic quest. On top of that, there's premium characters that you need to collect there. And if you want to go to
Mm.
the premium route, the premium characters, most of them are going to need artifacts. So not only you're going to need a mega 6-star ticket, a mega tier 2 ticket, you're also going to need their artifact at least a 4-star for them to even do something. Because if you get a
And so-
3-star, it's practically useless.
yeah, and also Sentry uses mats for normal and mutant tunes as well.
Exactly. You're going to need two different types of characters for him.
Right, guys.
So that's pretty
There's a
much
lot of great points that I wanted to address, because the truth is that there really is not much alternative in PvP. You got number one, you got number two. They're undeniable, they're unchanging, and then you got the top three to like the top 10, who honestly I make a very strict list based on it, but it could be rather subjective because
Yeah.
builds are so contingent on the tune being meta or not. So my Silver Surfer with Mighty Energy turns out has very similar RNG to a Brilliant Conquest Surfer in Team Battle Arena. I could get a counter kill on sentries with Brilliant Greed, and Brilliant Greed is going off sentry, but basically
Mm.
Surfer is the only real counter in an auto mode to Sentry and maybe Adam. Um, Sentry has really no alternatives, and I find myself putting alternative CTPs on absolutely everybody. So it turns out I'm making them hybrid anyway. I'm making Carnage hybrid, I'm making Apocalypse hybrid, I'm making Null with energy, Surfer with energy. All of these characters have energy, and they're performing well for me. In manual modes, I could get the best out of them with like a low ratio, but they still get me kills if I follow the process. In auto mode and TBA, I am having success, but there's a PvP culture I feel that's very significant, and it's showing because there really is like a 0.1% that completely has dominated PvP for like 6-7 years. Like, I've seen the same accounts for so long, and that's why PvP has the stigma that it does, because it's true, there's very little alternatives, and if you try to figure out these alternatives, you could be testing yourself into an early grave because RNG still has massive effect even in matches like real time matches that I see. Sometimes I can get lucky, sometimes I can't, and I can't even bypass it. And people have that same luck getting cards and swords to premium to 6 star to like all blue stars. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and
It's
also it used to be a lot easier to use something other than metas, but they've added more features. They nerfed Pierce by 50% in PvP. That almost kicked out Adam out of meta in a single patch because he lost his one-shot gimmick for anyone other than a whale. They added swords, which come with more pierce reduction, damage bonuses, crowd control decrease, whatnot. They then added emblems. They're adding more and more features which only benefit the one top percent because only they can afford it. And the rosters, they're getting more and more stricter for who you can actually use if you don't want to use the best.
That's true. And if I can just roll back a bit before anybody laughs about Silver Surfer and CTP of Energy and other characters with CTP of Energy that should, like, quote unquote, should have reforged PvP CTPs. Why don't you, Marine Velvet, go ahead and tell everyone who will be watching this or listening this about your Otherworld battle placement in the recent weeks, months with those characters?
Oh well, I mean,
Yep.
in Otherworld Battle, I actually I completely abandoned the game mode because I already acknowledged that it's totally account based, and with my 55% HP on cards, I'll never get the freaking Ghost Rider card. I'll never get the freaking Zombie Spider-Man card. I'm still trying to gamble for the Zombie Spider-Man card. I'm looking to try to better that area so I could maybe compete in Otherworld Battle one day. But Team Battle
Mm-hmm.
Arena, I have been having some success. Even my ratio is pretty good. It's in the mid 70s, which is much better than my PvP ratio in my timeline battle ratio. My timeline battle
Mm-hmm.
ratio is, always in like the 50-40 percentile these days with my team ups. But, I'm figuring out that Shala with a specific build, even in a specific position, is also kind of a counter to Mighty Conquest Sentries and Greed Sentries. Carnage with Mighty Energy is not letting me down as much as Brilliant Egg Carnage is letting everybody else down. Um, my Mighty Energy Silver Surfer is honestly irreplaceable. I think he's great in PvE. I've gotten like 40% damage in GBR runs with him before in like a minute and a half. I think he's great. Okay in World Boss. And he gets me very critical timeline battle kills against really, really tough Brilliant Conquest Sentries. Like, I'm talking two-shotting if I get the proc down. Proc friendly, too, surprisingly enough. But, my Apocalypse has Mighty Energy. I mean, Apocalypse has been a very underrated character as of late. And,
Mm.
for example, Magic. I've also kind of put down on my list in my top 10 list because she's very inconsistent and she needs the full artifact.
When I reviewed your account at one point, I was baffled by seeing like energy on your Carnage and well whatever. But then I checked your videos and I saw like that these things actually work and that you've been beating top people with those builds, which is insane. It only shows you how unexplored the PvP meta and the counter meta is, because the barrier to entry is so high and the barrier to test things is even higher.
I know, yeah, and with
When
Lucifer,
Markov first reviewed my account, I go back because of his reaction to seeing me using a basic conquest on the Sentry, Merge Sentry. That was funny to watch. It was unconventional, no one expected it to work, but it did. Also, Doctor Doom with a Mighty Trans. No one expected it to work. Everyone is salty for it, but it worked. I've since swapped it to an authority, but trans worked. I even use multi-patient on the other natives, Gore, Swan, and Kang, and they work in OWB when I need them. You don't expect it to work, but it will. I'm not as good with the unconventional CTPs as Marine is, but I can say they work.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying that I feel like sometimes I'm like a lone wolf in this space. You know, the whales kind of keep all the attacks to themselves and all the builds to themselves, or they say just kind of a general outlook on things that may or may not work because every build is different. But yeah, Lucifer and I are the only ones that have really like gone out of our way to be extremely specific and test. And I mean, you know, Malkoff too. Malkoff is given a lot of his 2 cents about PvP. And, you know, Tad has also been doing test runs based on my recommendations, and he's been doing relatively well. So I'm hoping that, you know, us four together at some point can kind of change the outlook on PvP. And I also wanted to discuss with you guys what your top 7 list would be, and you can add whatever CTP you want, just to get like a little bit more debate going. Um,
Also, to add to that, Wales, they recommend what works from their perspective, and they forget that their stats allow more things to work than if you had less stats. Mighty
that's true.
Conquest, for example, if you have insanely high stats, you can make it work, but for anyone without it, it will not. I have tried it on
True.
everyone repeatedly, and I've removed it within the week every single time.
Hmm.
It's very
Yeah,
true.
just like Reforged Refinement couldn't work on Silver Surfer if your cards and defenses max HP aren't high. So you needed
Yeah,
whale stats for Mighty Refinement to be the best CTP for Silver Surfer.
yeah. When Adam was meta, Egg was one of the more popular CTPs for him, but there was one
Hmm.
main requirement. You needed at least 40% HP on cards and about 12% pierce minimum. It was popular, but you needed to have that for it to work on him.
Now we're moving on to part 2 of this debate, and we're going to cover PvP, the top 7 list, just to make it so not many of us forget. And we're going to say the recommended CTP for the character and why the character is in its place. So I'm going to start out because, of course, I absolutely love this kind of stuff, talking about this stuff and specifics. So
Yeah, especially since there is going to be at least one thing that me and Marine are going to disagree on, and that'll be fun to discuss on
oh yeah,
on
it
film.
will be fun. It will be fun, and I think I'll get some backup too, Lucy. So you better watch out, man. So, all right. So number one is definitely Sentry. I think that
Mhm.
when he is 100%, he is perfect under the debuff removal that he gives himself. Under a skill and a leadership, he is legit indestructible with the 100% decreased damage that Conquest gives with the reflect negation. I think that he has higher HP than a lot of the meta traditionally. I think
Yeah,
his
also, he gains 30,000 from his T4 alone.
Yeah, so his stat bump is some of the highest in the game too. He is a debuff master and he has a lot of extra seconds. Like his fit skill can go on after his death. It's so long. Um,
Yep.
he has a lot of cancelable skills and he has a lot of damage to complement him. And
And he's constantly in iframes.
yep, and he could work very well with what is regarded as the best CTP in the game for PvP, which is Brilliant Conquest. He's perfect with it, and his alternatives aren't many either. Like,
Oh, and also don't forget the fact that he cancels his own skills if you manage to attack him.
yeah, true. He does because he's protected by invincibility, which is longer than his skill and longer than his debuff removal on his skill, which is 4 seconds. So
Yeah,
even though, huh?
if you hit him, he will end his current skill and go into another, just
Yeah,
like he did with the old uni.
yeah. So when he's with Molecule Man with like debuff removal of 10 seconds, he's legitimately broken. He's broken. Like his debuff removal doesn't overwrite. It has like a 3 second cooldown majority of the time. So then he becomes ridiculous. Whereas if you combine Null with Molecule Man, he still has to be with Agent Venom. Without it, he's not going to do well defensively. Even with Colossus, he doesn't do well defensively. So that's why he's clearly number two. His counter is Logan. And if he doesn't have the right supports, he gets decked by Logan a lot of the time if you know how to
Yeah,
build your Logan. So,
yeah. I've even gotten him a second ISO set. I have Power of Angry Hulk was the first one. That's one I mostly use, especially in the auto modes. The timeline, I like to use Protect the Captain for the extra defense, HP, and crowd control time it gives. In some cases, it does help him survive damage just long enough for him to get the debuff removal back before he dies.
yeah, I think because Null's primary is offense, you can probably work with it, protect the captain for him because he really does need as much defense as possible these days. His offense is already complemented. So I would actually think that, of course, Brilliant Greed is the best choice for Null, but if you don't have a Brilliant Greed and you only have a Mighty Greed, I actually think that Mighty Energy does more damage than a Mighty Greed, and it's helped me tremendously in Team Battle Arena. So I will take those two out of the way. Third choice, sorry guys, it's got to be Silver Surfer. The
Uh,
full build at 100% with the Brilliant Conquest and with probably Agent Venom is the only true counter against Sentry and TBA, other than maybe like a Shala Ball in a specific position. But basically, he has the capabilities of activating his counter during Sentry's second skill. It's RNG, it's luck based, so like 9 out of 10, it's not going to activate. But that 10th time, it could actually kill Sentry in one shot. He is extremely tanky. He has all the stats to complement him. He has high damage, but he lacks penetration. It's only on his counter, which is unfortunate. He has hidden super guard breaking on his third skill when the counter activates. He has very long iframes. He has reflect, which is like one of the best um, stats for PvP to go up against like the meta. And he has a revive, of course, and he works with Brilliant Conquest. It's just very unfortunate because he's very poor when he doesn't have the Brilliant Conquest. So alternatives like Mighty Authority, Mighty Egg, the egg has to be brilliant. Um, they they're getting like not so much good compliments anymore than they used to when Silver Surfer
well, I
was mostly to be
mean,
versatile.
Off always got more praise than it deserves because the invincible disables counterattack, which he has always been reliant on.
Mhm.
It worked on his old uni because he wasn't completely reliant on the counterattack, but now he is. Off has always been overrated for the symbiote surfer, and I'm still using Egg on mine, and yeah, as long as you don't stick him up against Nolan the Sentry and expect him to do anything more than take one life, he's not too bad with it.
Yeah, I would say that he's not. He still has some versatility, but in order for him to compete in very high levels and be regarded in very high levels, he needs like the highest build. So
Yeah,
in my opinion, you either have to give him the perfection he needs with the Brilliant Conquest, or I would give him DPS because I think that like he needs a brilliant CTP when it comes to defensive CTPs. So
Mm.
my mighty energy on him is actually doing very, very well.
Yeah, I'm just glad that people have stopped saying that Region is good on him entirely. It used to be considered his third best CTP, and I really hated that era.
For the
It's fun.
longest time, there was a debate about people slotting in and thinking that Mighty Authority and Brilliant Authority are the best CTPs for him, which
Yeah,
couldn't be farther from the truth because the invincibility you get can cancel your heals,
Exactly.
or
yeah, and
because
also
you wouldn't counter.
legit. Also, only a few people actually realized that Egg was his best in slot if you didn't have the conquest. Lots of people were insulting it, saying it's not as good as Authority, when anyone who was willing to try it said the opposite.
Yeah, I remember I streamed this on my channel
Yeah,
when I tested Surfer with every single CTP and the brilliant refinement with my stats, my stack build, my cards was way and beyond anything, any other CTP. Like he was crushing every single team with that build, single-handedly, with like one support.
yeah.
I didn't have Brilliant Conquest at that time, so Brilliant Conquest was out of the picture, but Brilliant Refinement performed better than Mighty Conquest did.
Yeah, I still hate that you got a perfect roll brilliant conch
God.
on the first attempt.
Hey, hey, yeah, you guys remember the double support surfers that were fucking dominating timeline battle for like a
Oh,
month?
oh Jesus. I
Yeah.
remember pre-nerf, before the Pierce nerf, Davey, Jesus, when he was in
Yeah.
timeline, that was legit the only surfer I refused to face no matter what. Because even without the damage nerf when they reduced Pierce,
Yep.
I could not beat him at that time, no matter how hard I tried.
Yeah, he was ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous.
Yeah,
Um,
and then they nerfed Pierce, and now he's just a lot harder.
right. So I'm gonna continue to 5, and then I'm going to alternate because I don't want to take up too much time. I want you guys to get your input in
Mhm.
too. So number 4, another controversial choice, is gonna be Adam. I think
Mm.
Adams in Team Battle Arena have proven to be my biggest freaking headache ever. And I have to put Sentry with the right supports to kill top 150 Adam Warlocks in Team Battle Arena. If I don't put the right supports, they freaking stomp my Sentry, who's my best character. So I literally have to make a counter team just for them, and it's arguably my best team. Um, I would say, the recommended Brilliant Conquest, of course, it makes him a complete character. His counter, if it doesn't execute, it gives Adam ignore iframes on the next skill, which is actually exclusive to Adam. No other character with that sort of like insta cancel skill with ignore iframes doesn't have ignore iframe on the next skill, so it's very exclusive to Adam. He has the perfect decreased damage, so he can benefit with conquest. He has a constant heal, and his damage has debuffs, even though he's not a debuff master. But his damage with the clash stat on conquest still becomes very high, especially with the max roll. And he does very, very well with all kinds of supports, including Wong. And he arguably doesn't need debuff removal at times. Not every time, of course, but it's because he has the debuff removal on his second skill, making him extremely effective. So,
Yes, I'll save my arguments for why I would
yeah,
not put Adam in top five for later.
good, good. And it would be a good topic to discuss. Number 5, I'm going to say it's Logan. I think because Logan, even with a medium, like moderate build, can still take on plenty of nulls and is still a fairly decent counter. In TBA, I actually pair him with Colossus as a lead to activate the physical damage immunity which actually works in my favor, especially when AV is banned for null. So Logan is essentially a mainstay in TBA unless Mephisto could find a way to consistently kill null and replace him. So obviously, I think that Logan works with Brilliant Conquest. I think that people are moving away from Greed because they notice how effective the extra defense on Logan is, especially when the Conquest is at full roll. So I think it's highly recommended to build him in this way. Of course, you have to get all of the top 5 meta with their artifacts. And I will now be moving on to Malkoth, who will
Yeah, and
give his
also
top
with
5.
Wolverine, and up until Sentry, the old Wolverine uniform with a grid was considered better than the
Yeah,
new one. Yeah, but
absolutely.
now people would rather use the new one with the Conquest because it is a bit
Yep.
more consistent.
Very true. Very true.
Although,
Really good list. Really, really good list of the top 5 characters, and I actually agree with every single choice. I will just mix and match them from the spot. So, first two, obviously, Sentry and Null. The reason why I'm putting Null at the second place and Sentry, in my opinion, Brilliant Conquest is the best CTP for Null. The Brilliant Greed is the best CTP. The reason why I'm also more lenient towards Sentry being a bit better than Null for PvP is because Null needs another character with his specific artifact, which is Agent Venom, to be a menace, real menace that he can be. That doesn't mean that Null is useless without Agent Venom, far from it, but he does really get majority of his defenses and insane performances when he has good Agent Venom support and a maxed out artifact from Agent Venom. Those are the undisputed top two, and I think every single one of us will
yeah,
agree on this. I know that before, when new Sentry's uniform was released, that some content creators released their Sentry PvP reviews too quick and said that he's way weaker than Null. I did a few hours of streaming where I tested this extensively, and my Sentry was obliterating Nulls left and right with Brilliant Conquest
That's a
as the
great point.
yeah,
I
CTP.
remember that.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Even in my first
I
review, I was
Mhm.
saying that Sentry. Yeah, even in my first review, I was saying that Sentry was slightly worse, but not as much worse as people were saying. Some even said the new uniform is a nerf. That's how
Yeah, I
bad it was.
remember
But
that.
yeah, but
I
after
remember
a
that.
lot more testing, I had started to see that the new one is actually better. But I'll save why for later.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So this is something that's something that players when they watch other people and by the way, this doesn't mean that my reviews and tests are always right, nor does it mean that other content creators reviews are wrong. On the contrary, it just means that you should probably wait if you're debating on or considering to buy or not the new uniform for whatever character, in this case Sentry, wait for few content creators to review the uniform, you know, and then decide if like 5 out of 5 people say that he is good, then probably it is good. But if like 3 people say it's bad and 2 people say it's good, then I would wait for a bit more opinions from
Yeah, and
the other side.
also be wary of earlier reviews. The earlier
Yeah,
the review, the less reliable it is to be.
that's true. That's true. Because yeah, people edit their content. They like if they do a day one tier 4 PvP character review, like there's no way you tested that character enough
Yeah, they
for
like
you
to
to
rush
yeah.
it for views.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's completely fine. Like, I'm not targeting any content creator specifically. I'm just telling about the players. If you are considering to buy a uniform, wait for few reviews, especially if you're low on crystals, to see if the uniform is good or not. But
Mm.
back on the topic on hand, the third place for me is actually Wolverine and not Silver Surfer. And there are multiple reasons why I would rank Wolverine over Silver Surfer currently. One of the reasons is that Wolverine is actually the best, or overall the best striker in the game. And by building him for PvP, and obviously Brilliant Conquest currently in this meta is the best CTP for him. So pretty much every single characters that I'm going to list here, Brilliant Conquest, except Null, of course.
Yeah.
Brilliant Conquest is going to be the CTP of choice, but what can also work for Wolverine is greed. What can also work is even like an energy. But he
Yeah.
loses guard break immunity. I do think that people who slot in energy for PvP, I think that you will do better if you just do guard break immunity plus 200% proc.
Actually, if you want the proc, but slightly better for PvP, go with a destruction because it has guard break immunity.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So destruction is probably better, not probably, but better than energy in pretty much every single case. And the reasoning is while my number four character, which is Silver Surfer, while he can outperform Wolverine in PvP and he can counter, like Marine said, the meta characters, he really, really, really needs maxed out builds and again, Agent Venom supports if you really want him to be a true menace in
And
PvP.
team up.
Fair.
And team up as well. So we're talking about really insane investments. So this is what made me shift Silver Surfer to spot number four. And but still, like if you have good cards and team ups and brilliant CTPs and his artifact and max out build, he still clings on there. He's definitely a top five. Sure, but I would rank because for Logan, you can give him a normal destruction, right? And if you even get like a 4-star artifact, he can get you a kill. Silver Surfer with a 3-star artifact and a mediocre build can't kill anyone. So, but considering that we have deducted that PvP in general in this game at this day and age is overall an end game mode, it's no longer a easily accessible mode. I think it's also fair to rank Silver Surfer as number three because you're at this point expected to have great builds on your characters. So I'm only
Also, if you ask around and learn how to do it, you can swap in Wolverine, do his fifth, then swap him out. You can do that and not require his artifact. He can get a kill or maybe two, and you don't really need the RT.
I honestly
yeah.
think that your point and Malkoth's point are both actually decent cases for Logan being in three, honestly.
Yeah, thank you. Because like I'm definitely less experienced in PvP than you guys, like Marine and even Lucy, but I'm trying to rank characters on their accessibility as well as their strengths. And
Yeah.
for Logan, if you get like then if you play him on manual, you can do what Lucy says. And if you
Yeah.
get like at least a 4-star artifact, you can do that in addition to pick up a value out of his artifact. So I do think that Logan is ranked a bit higher than Surfer, or at least I would rank him. Then on the fourth
Yeah.
place comes Silver Surfer, and on the fifth place is of course Adam Warlock. Adam Warlocks with brilliant CTPs of Conquest that are really tanky have actually surprised me even in timeline battle. You know, like when I play, I usually do autoplay and I watch how my team performs, and I do switches like Colossus, Agent Venom, Sentry, Null, whatever, you know, depending on what's banned and what's not. And I've seen like Adam Warlock's not by himself, of course, but they can like really, really dismantle my teams for some reasons. It's insane. Like I'm facing, let's say, Sentry, Colossus, and Adam Warlock team. This was like a few months ago, and then my Nulls and Sentry kill their Sentry, but then they're all debuffed, and then Adam Warlock just one shots the remaining HP they had from the Sentry fight, with the second skill, and then he uses the fifth skill, completely debuffs me, and my null or sentry, I don't know, I think it was null because it was immortality. He starts walking left and right because he's debuffed, and he doesn't even manage to take one life from Adam Warlock. So I do think that Adam Warlock still has quite the value in PvP, not necessarily in timeline battle, but in these random, not random, but where you do autoplay, so Otherworld battle, arena, those that what's it called? Yeah, in team battle, yeah, he definitely packs a punch. So I
Yeah.
completely agree with your list. It's definitely what I would rank as top five, but I would just switch Wolvie for Sentry and Silver Surfer. Everybody's now recommending to build Sentry and Null for good reasons, but they're forgetting characters that are also really good. It's just they're completely being overshadowed by the Titans that are Sentry and Null.
Totally
Like, but
agree.
Surfer, Logan, or Wolverine, and Adam are still really insane
Yeah.
characters.
All right, so now we're moving on to Tad's list. Let's see what Mr. Tad has to say.
So my top one, it's obviously going to be Sentry. The recommended CTP would probably be a Brilliant Conquest on him. So that's for Sentry. As for the second, it's obviously going to be Null. For Null, I would probably use a Mighty Greed. That's what I use, and I've gotten some solid performance. Though some people may not agree with that, which I completely understand. But from what I've experienced, I've seen that Mighty Greed has given me some good results out of it. The next one, it is going to be for the third one, it's going to be Logan, Wolverine. Wolverine can be really good, and he usually one-shots characters with his fifth, and that's speaking from my experience. Now, obviously, I'm not the best in PvP, so my experience may differ, but that's talking with a normal energy, sometimes taking on some brilliant conquest nulls in some cases that I have had in timeline battle, even sometimes in team battle arena.
Yeah, and also
So
with Wolverine, he does come with hybrid value with his newest uniform. He can use Rage, Energy, or Destruction and do good in either mode.
exactly, that's also a solid point where he would be used as a hybrid for World Boss Legends. And
Yeah,
for
and
PvP,
there is a lot of whales who will use Wolverine as an ABX striker with brilliant energy because he is actually better than Ghost Rider or Black Widow for the Order instinct tunes.
yes, that is also a correct fact on that as well. So that is for my third. As for my fourth, I'm going to put Silver Surfer, mainly because of his reflect. So when he goes and dies, when he comes back straight away, usually the nulls and the sentries that I play against instantly dive with their second. And because he has his reflect ready, then he usually insta-kills them because they go on their second directly. As for the CTP, personally, I have an authority on him, which is really bad. So I would not recommend authority. But the one that I had a better experience with was a Mighty Conquest. So I would probably recommend a Mighty Conquest. He's one of the few characters that can use a Mighty Conquest. So I'll give a Mighty Conquest to Silver Surfer. The fifth character that I have in mind, it is Adam Warlock. For Adam, he's really good, even without a CTP right now with me, and he has a mini rage because I'm still trying to re-roll for a proc obelisk until I get an energy for him. With a mini rage obelisk, he still performs very, very good in most scenarios, which I really, really like. As for the CTP that I would give him, I'd probably give him something like either an energy or a conquest, preferably a brilliant. If I had to guess, a mighty energy could work, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I know that a brilliant conquest and a brilliant energy can work on Adam.
Yeah, I forgot to
So
mention that Brilliant Energy is great on Adam. By the way, I want to see anybody put Mephisto in that fifth spot. I dare you. I dare you.
For my sixth spot, it is going.
I would put magic over Mephisto.
Hear me out. I have a very good sixth spot
Okay,
player.
go, Tad.
Go.
All right, for sixth spot, it is going to be Mephisto.
Ah,
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Like
I'm
Mephisto
kidding.
is like I
I'm
I
kidding.
I think he is overvalued, to say the least, in PvP.
in
Like
I haven't
PvP.
seen many,
way overvalued.
I agree.
not seen many tests with him. I was waiting on Marin to test him, but he got very unlucky with his second potential. So that was something. He was getting so unlucky with his potential.
Like
Yeah, I was like
you guys,
spamming Tad with rage.
He was actually texting me. He's going to be like, my head is going to be placed in a jar 1,000 years later, and then I will get his potential. It was so bad.
I tested Mephisto with mm, greed, brilliant refinement, brilliant conquest. He's like I don't know. He's
You
not
tried
that
all
good.
of them except his recommended one, which for Mephisto is actually authority to a complete shock.
Yeah, because I do not have brilliant
Needs
authority.
it.
I don't think many
Yeah,
has it.
Mephisto is kind of like what is it? He's kind of like Thanos. He needs damage reduction desperately.
Yeah.
For my sixth that I'm going to put, it's probably going to be Apocalypse for me. Because, oh, yes, you would need a 4-star, 5-star artifact for most characters, but so far from what I have seen, Apocalypse with a 3-star and no CTP, he's doing quite well for Team Battle Arena. He usually dies a lot, but in the rare cases, he does actually perform quite good, and that's without any build on him. I do not have anything on him, just a 3-star artifact, and I don't even think that I have an obelisk on him. So it's completely stripped with nothing. With just a 3-star artifact, and he's still performing quite well from my personal
I think
experience.
Apocalypse is great.
He's really good, especially since I don't have anything on him. No Odins, no Ooze, nothing. Absolutely
Problem
nothing. I
with
don't.
like sixth and seventh slot is that like there is a huge like discrepancy between first two characters, Sentry and Null, and the next three characters, which are we all agreed. Well, we didn't hear Lucy, but like Wolvie, Silver Surfer, and
Adam.
Adam. And
Yes.
then the final two will also have huge discrepancy between the first two, but also the next three characters. So this is why when I rank PvP characters, I usually only go to top five because after top five, like we can probably reach consensus at top five, but at top seven, there's going to be, a wild Deadpool appears,
Oh,
Apocalypse
That is
Magic,
true.
you
That
know.
is
oh no,
true.
not Deadpool, please, not Deadpool.
Yeah, but you remember that there was a time when people were hyping up Deadpool that if you
Oh,
give him a max build, brilliant conquest, and max team up collection, and blah blah blah, he can kill sentries, in
it
his old
wasn't
build.
even max build. I mean, let's
For the last one that I'm going to put, um, honestly, I have nothing in mind. The only one that I can think of that comes to mind is Ghost Rider,
Yes.
but I know
I'm surprised you didn't
many
stick
of you.
him in sixth.
Ghost Rider, honestly, I know that many probably you might disagree with this, but I'm speaking from experience, and he's the one that I have built like more than the rest. And honestly, I've seen Ghost Rider kill many people, and he only has a 4-star artifact, and 4-star artifact with a mighty rage. Yes, a mighty rage. And he was performing very, very good in Team Battle Arena. Putting Ghost Rider 7th because from my personal experience, he's been very, very good. I do not know if you guys are going to agree with this, but again, this is just from a personal perspective, and this is because I do not know that much about PvP. I usually just
No,
go
that's
message
completely fair.
Marine. I just go message Marine, please help me out, help a brother out. And then he just sends me some list.
And also, something to note is Ghost Rider, you do typically want to pair him with Nick Fury in PvP for the incapacitation immunity because Null will remove his buffs via incapacitation, which interrupts his skills. But with Fury, it prevents that, so he will not get interrupted. It's why the most common Ghost Rider team in AC is Wasp Lead, Fury, and Ghost Rider. It's typically put before Sentry or Null teams because it acts as a Null Sentry, Null counter team.
That is a good perspective. And honestly, I would put that as a team, but the issue is I have such little amount of PvP characters.
Mhm.
Like I don't have the biggest list there is. But I've paired Ghost Rider with Null, and then I'm going to test a few with Nick Fury as lead and Ghost Panther as lead to see whichever one works the best.
Yeah, you really cannot play him without anyone who gives debuff removal because
Yeah,
he doesn't have
exactly.
it natively.
Yep, and if I wanted to give him a debuff removal support, then I would risk not having a third character, usually a DPS, to do most of the work.
Actually, if you want a debuff removal who can also be a DPS, you have Strife or Sue Storm. Either of them can work. I mean, Strife has fallen off and whatnot. His damage isn't what it once was. But Sue, I've actually gotten some surprisingly good usage out of her. I almost killed a Nem with her on her own, but she was aided because Ghost Rider triggered his debuff removal already.
I mean, if I'm able to, I might buy Storm and hopefully just put her instead of Ghost Panther.
Yeah, Sue is kind of overlooked, but she is great for OWB and AC if you get an authority on her.
That's good advice that I will look into further.
Yeah, her charm debuff on the third skill, it avoids debuff removal. If her issue is no iframing, or if she catches you with that skill, you are going to die. There is no two ways about it.
Well, I'll hopefully try to save up some crystals and get her, and then hopefully she can work alongside Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
6th and 7th characters, I would probably look into the future updates, not and recommend those characters. So I would probably list, and you might kill me, guys, but I would probably list Doctor Doom in one of those slots because I am
Oh my
expecting
ears.
that Doctor Doom will be insanely good once the movie
I'm back.
comes out. So
I
it's
mean, they
kind
did
of like,
fuck up God Emperor Doom of all tunes.
yeah,
And
the God
then
Emperor
they
Doom
nerfed
is
it.
like, oh, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, they released it shitty. There was a bunch of begging for a nerf. Legit, the boycotts for the nerf was so intense and so many people were getting in on it that Netmarble resulted to muting players. They were deleting comments, muting them, preventing it from
Wow.
happening.
I did
Yeah, that
not
happened
know.
in the live stream.
Yeah, that's how bad Buff Doom was. And when
Then
they did finally buff him, they actually nerfed him, mainly by giving him a 1 second debuff removal on his iframe ignore, as if having 2 seconds wasn't bad enough for the likes of Merged Sentry. They made it even worse for Doom.
Yeah, they really. That's probably one of my most hated uniforms of all time.
I mean,
Yeah, I bought the
Doctor
old
Doom in
uniform at Spite.
seventh. Doctor Doom in seventh is a very interesting choice.
Yeah, I bought the old Doom uniform out of spite, and I tend to get more usage out of that.
It's more like betting on the future, you know?
True.
Because it's not what my choices are like for 6 and 7 are like Apocalypse, Magic, Emma Frost, and Doom. Did I forget anyone? Oh, Mephisto. Of course, I forgot Mephisto.
Yeah,
So yeah, maybe, and Ghost Rider. I didn't list Ghost Rider. Well, I'll probably rank Doom like in top 10, but
That's better.
yeah, I would probably rank Doom in top 10, but I don't think I would rank him in top 7. Yeah, top 7 is kind of pushing it, but yeah, top 10 Doom for future value, hopefully. But they have to get the next uniform right, man. They have to do it.
Yeah, the only two that I know for 100% that are future proof are Jean and Thanos because neither of them have ever gotten a bad uniform.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, there might be others, but I don't remember anyone else who hasn't at least once gotten a bad uni.
Uh, has anyone gotten a bad uni? Uh, not that I. Well, Strange's uniforms were kind of good, right? Every single
Yeah.
one of them.
Hmm. Yeah, although apart from his latest hero uni, that one, well,
Yeah.
it was basically nothing compared to it. It was no
Yeah,
improvement over the old
that's
uni.
true. That's true.
Yeah,
That's
I
true.
thought that his spacesuit uni was actually really good for PvP, and then PvP meta changed, and
Yeah, I
then
remember
they,
that Strange was PvP meta. That was fun.
he was great. He was great, especially with authority. He was fabulous against Thanos. It was amazing. But
Mm.
all right, so Malkoff gave his sixth and seventh kind of slot. So and so did Tad. So let's hear yours, Lucifer.
Well, I mean, the kind of obvious number one is going to be Sentry for the reason that his damage, even when Null has Team Up and Agent Venom, Sentry actually has a higher damage output than Null does. That's something people forget about. Uh, Also, he has a lot more heal. He has it on two separate skills. He has a more complete toon. He provides debuff removal and attack increase for the entire team. He doesn't have or need team up collection. Uh, Despite his defensive issues, he does great with greed, even without supports. He is not support dependent. Uh, and his best CTPs would undoubtedly start off with Brilliant Conquest in first, followed by Brilliant Greed, ending on Mighty Greed. I say ending because I mean you can stick an energy on him, but it's kind of just if you want more damage, but more risk, more reward. And
Yeah, the reflect
Mighty
negation
Conquest.
is important, but if you need like
Yeah.
raw damage, like Greed's 150% proc sometimes is just not enough.
Yeah, and Mighty Conquest, as I've said in the last debate we did, is complete enough to trash, and I will
Yeah.
shit on anyone who recommends it.
No, I agree totally. Mhm.
Yeah, and number two, obviously, Null. I stick Sentry above Null for a few reasons. Sentry Null is completely dependent on support. He is not as good as people say he is without Agent Venom. They'll say he's as good or better, but he just isn't. On his own, Null is meh. He dies very quickly, and his damage just isn't there. He has, let's see, his buff removal is incapacitation, so it can be avoided or prevented. Sentry has flat all buff removal, so no matter what you do, he will remove it. You can't avoid it
It's a good point.
until debuff removal triggers.
Hmm.
Also, he does need the team up collection for the attack buff. Null has natively lower stats than Sentry, so he kind of has to get that made up for him with team up. He is dependent on supports. His overall kit just isn't as good. Uh, oh yeah, and CTP wise, his first is quite obviously Brilliant Greed, followed by Mighty Greed, and ending on Brilliant Conquest. I would absolutely stick a Mighty Greed over a Conquest for Null. because you can only use a conk null if you're using him with 2 supports. And also, as mentioned earlier, he is easier and cheaper, slightly cheaper to build than Sentry, but he's a self-serving toon whose debuff removal is only for himself. So if you're building him, you're building him for him. He can't benefit anyone else. So yeah, if your first PvP toon to get, I would absolutely say Sentry, just because you can use him to provide a team. You can't do that with Null. Now then, 3 to 7, I'm going to say will depend on investment. I'm going to give a couple variations just to try and please Marine.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, one which I'm not firmly cemented on just yet because it's still in early reviews and whatnot. I would stick a maxed out Mephisto in third because all the whale reviews I've seen that used him with a proper build, well, I'm talking the Conk and the Authority, they were saying he would consistently beat everyone except Sentry. That was his only issue. He would not. He had to get lucky to kill him once. He has long skills, long distance iframe ignore, and also, unless you give him a rage or a judgment, Mephisto will not kill with damage. That's another thing. He kills through his debuffs, which he has a lot of them, and they're very good. He has to survive long enough to debuff an enemy. That is how he will kill them. And when he's maxed, or even when he's not, he's consistent at it against certain toons. I've been using him against my own null with different teams repeatedly, beating it on auto and manual.
Oh, dude,
Marines had
Mephisto has so many problems, man. Just
yeah.
end it off though.
Yeah, that's why I said max, and also I'm not cemented on it just yet because that will change when I get him to T4 and try him out for myself. Fourth for this list is going to go to Wolverine for all the stuff mentioned previously, but also because of his consistency. Wolverine will consistently one-shot. Unless it's very difficult to interrupt his iframe, unlike others. So he's much more consistent than the likes of Surfer, who I would stick in fifth. As for this is the maxed out review. So maxed, I would stick Adam Warlock in fourth, ahead of Wolverine, and Wolverine in fifth, because anyone who has faced a maxed out Warlock knows how much of a bastard he can be. Carl's Adam, for example. That little shit refused to die and one-shot you out of nowhere. You have to debuff it to kill it. Which I'm sure Marine will agree with.
I mean, yeah, it's just I like that list, but I still don't like Mephisto in third because you're valuing him based off of hybrid use, and I think his hybrid use is fantastic, but in PvP, he comes with too many issues. Like his fourth skill is long, but I don't think it's longer than Null's fifth and Sentry's fifth. I think it's like almost the same duration. The last hit on that skill of Mephisto is 4 is not an iframe. So he gets out of his iframe over time and he's actually open to damage. He has pauses in his fourth skill, so if he doesn't hit the target, Null and Sentry are just going to do their primary. So they're going to kill him. And it's very frustrating. So he needs like extra stats like ignore dodge, and he needs his artifact for damage, and he needs like, maybe increased damage too.
Yeah. Also, if I might add, if we are talking about hybrid use, then Null takes the first place. So this is why
I
I'm
didn't
not
actually
focused.
include the hybrid use because Mephisto is a PvE oriented hybrid, similar to what Jing is and has been for some time. He is capable of both, but he is clearly focused on PvE. That's why I
Yes,
never mentioned
but
his PvE usage.
Lucy, that's true. But Jean Grey was actually the best character in both game modes when she was released. Well,
True.
Mephisto obviously has better options in PvP.
Yeah, that's why I have mentioned previously when I was ranking them that unlike Sentry and Null, there is no argument for him to be higher. He will be third at best, but that's I'm yet to be cemented and decide whether I'll go with that in the
I
future
mean,
or not.
to be fair to Lucy, in team battle, I did see some Mephistos did replace some Surfers or some Logans, or it allowed putting Mephisto on the team by himself for Silver Surfer and Adam to be paired together. Because I see a lot of people doing that team now to counter the perfect Logans, indicating
Yeah, and
Logan's
not
top five.
not long ago, I saw a mid build Mephisto M Judgment similar stats to mine. I stuck him. I wasn't expecting what happened, but he straight up two-shotted my sentry. I was using Hela support with him, so he wasn't getting any additional help. But he spawned. Not Mephisto got lucky and invaded the first iframe. He killed him through that rather quickly. Sentry then revived and killed him, but then Mephisto killed him on his revive. I've only seen that happen a few times, but it does happen.
You always have to remember to take into account who you're fighting too, because
Yeah, I always check the accounts and the bills and all that. You see me share the screenshots and whatnot. It was similar to my own build, but he had much higher attack. He had about 110,000 or so.
okay. Anybody
Yeah,
want to
and
add
then
anything to that?
No, I mean, yeah, Mephisto might be. I don't know. I honestly do not know. Uh, I like when the character is really good in PvP nowadays, it's almost instantly obvious.
Yeah.
It's almost instantly obvious, and Mephisto definitely isn't one of those characters. Like Logan will, in my book at least, forever be better character for PvP than Mephisto. For multiple reasons. Easier to acquire, easier to build, more abusable on manual play. Like he just doesn't require specific CTP. He actually can use different CTPs and still get some kills. Like he's an amazing striker. So yeah, I'm not so sure about Mephisto. Maybe I'm wrong.
yeah, yeah. There's only a few of the old players that I know who have actually said that he's top three. There's not a lot of them, but there are some of them, and I know that they're reliable because they've helped me a lot in the past. That's why I'm not firmly going to say that he's top three just yet. This is right.
I would maybe rank him at about Apocalypse's rank.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for now. I'll stick him like on par with Adam Warlock. Maybe slightly better from in some instances if he gets lucky, but yeah, those are generally third and fourth, at least for maxed out builds. With when I get into lesser builds, it'll be different. But in fifth would go Wolverine for the stuff mentioned previously, consistency, great performance, and all that. Sixth is where I'll stick Silver Surfer because he just is completely dependent on really good builds. He's not noob friendly whatsoever, and he just needs too much for what he gives back. And then tied with him for sixth, I would actually stick Ghost Rider because even though you can't use him against Sentry, he is incredibly consistent at just getting rid of Null's immortality and even killing him in a lot of instances. Not all because he can be interrupted, but one of my primary TVA teams now is Sue, Adam, and Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider gets rid of Null's immortality, and Adam is usually the killer. Not always, because Adam can be a bit iffy with what skills he does, but he will most of the time get the kill. And I think that was six. Yeah, 6 and 7. Everyone is tied somewhat between Ghost Rider and Surfer. Is just I get much more consistency out of Ghost Rider than Zerfa.
Well, Ghost Rider is an amazing character, and he's super cheap, and he could be
Yeah.
paired even without debuff removal sometimes because he's protected by iframes. So
Hmm.
it's just depending on who you face. Mephisto, I just think has, I think his leadership holds him back because he can only apply to villains. I think that, any non-elemental damage or like all attack damage supports kind of hurt him a little bit. He needs more heal, I think. Like with
Yeah,
that, like his fourth skill heal is okay, but it's not even
he
as
just isn't
potent.
tanky enough to utilize it.
I think even Jean, like it's very similar to Jean Grey's heal, but I don't even think it's
Yes,
as potent as Jean Grey's heal. I think Jean Grey's heal is
yeah,
better.
Jean's heal has always been better than Mephisto's. It's the same, but it's slightly worse. She was really good with it because she was tanky.
The thing is, I think with Jean, I think if she gets hit, the heal gets stronger. Whereas I think
They both have that
they both
effect.
have that. All
Uh,
right.
yeah, as they receive damage, they get more heal. Difference is Mephisto's heal cap goes up to 50% with how much he gains. Jean goes up to 100%.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean, it's. I think that Mephisto, you can make the strongest case you guys can possibly make for him. I think is top five, and like you could for example, because Silver Surfer has debuff removal, and because Adam doesn't need debuff removal, I think you can maybe make the case that specifically in PvP, not even for PvE or like hybrid, but for PvP, I think you can make the case Mephisto may be better at a full maxed out build than a Logan, because
yeah,
Logan is getting killed by Emma Frost tier 3 with Transcendence and fucking Sue Storm with Insight. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's issues with Logan, like clear issues.
yeah, and which is why I'm to reorder the 3 to 7th for a more modest to noob account tier list because it is different depending on your stats. So for this one, for third, I'm going to stick Wolverine, but tie it with Ghost Rider as they kind of do the same thing, but difference is Ghost Rider is aimed at Null and Surfer counter, while Wolverine can be stuck against anyone. Yeah, so those two will be tied for third and fourth. Fifth, uh, ooh, fifth is where I will stick Mephisto because my one with a shit build, next to nothing before I even completed his ISO set, was consistently killing my own Null, which anyone who's seen it, I've stacked both Null and Sentry. They have fairly equal build. Null having slightly better, but that's luck based. And then next I will probably stick. Yes, sixth I will stick Silver Surfer.
Over Adam Warlock for that player.
Actually, yeah, I would because, and then Adam I would stick in seventh because I bought Adam. Well, I mean, he's one of my all-time favorite Marvel characters. I bought him full price. I didn't bother waiting an extra month for discount. I bought his uniform full price. I gave the fucker 20 Odins. I've tried every CCP on him. I got his artifacts twice. They were actually my first artifacts, which was dumb luck. Yeah, I've tried so much and so many different things on him, and despite all that, I just don't think he's as good as he gets praised without a max build anymore because they nerfed Pierce, which severely wounded him. For the whales, they didn't notice any difference. But for anything less, he just wasn't working until I was losing so much trying to make him work. It wasn't until I removed him that I realized he was the issue. I feel like that's just gotten worse over time. He's just not as good as he gets some praise for. A maxed out one can arguably be top three no matter what, because he is seriously an issue, but anything less than perfect, he just isn't as good as he gets praised for. So I would stick 7 6 and 7 between Adam and Surfer. I'm not really going to try to say who will be better because it depends more on the mode. You can get better use out of Adam in TBA, AC, but you can get better use out of Surfer in OWB and TLB. So it's kind of 50-50 between the two for who's better on a low end account or medium.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the like top 5 usually consensus reached with one slot maybe being flex, and then 6th and 7th are like, yeah,
Yeah.
everybody has their own preferences, opinions, but they do agree that Ghost Rider definitely deserves top 7
Yep.
just because how flexible he is. And one thing I want to add on the Mephisto being top 3, top 4, top 5 doesn't really matter, is that for him to be ranked at that place, you need to give him a full PvP build, which in return will mean that you're losing, quote unquote, an exceptional PvE character.
I actually wouldn't say he needs a full PvE build because a few of the people who did give me good reviews on him, and even my own, they've been done with rage and judgments because a lot of people are. I mean, even a couple conquests, less of those because people aren't bothering to try it, but he does do good in PvP with a rage and a judge. Better with Rage because it does have the super guard break immunity, but his 5 frame will last about the same time as Sentry Null's 5th, and then he will instantly do his 5th before Sentry Null attack again, often debuffing them, and then I'll swap to manual and I'll finish them off. That's what has been happening a lot. Yeah, so just to go back on it, a maxed out tier list that is still up subject to change. First, you got the 2 Sentry, then Null, and then Mephisto, Adam, Wolverine, Ghost Rider, and Surfer. And then for the lesser, lower end or the medium accounts, Wolverine, then Adam, Wolverine, Ghost Rider, then it was then it was Mephisto, then Surfer and Adam. So it's different depending on your account investment.
Yeah, definitely.
But again, it just depends on what accounts you're going to face and how well built that Mephisto could be. Because for each one of the tier lists is going to be a different scenario. Like, for example, you could see someone put Mephisto as a top 3 because he has Mephisto built to the brim with max HP, everything, brilliant CTPs, all that. And then you've got the other group that puts him at like top 10 because they do not have him that well built, or they're seeing these reviews because the reviews, there hasn't been that many, honestly, for PvP. I'm talking about for PvP because people mainly just focused on wanting to see if he's a low-key replacement for Alliance Battle, which he was. But then after that, they kind of just ignored the PvP side of him.
Yeah, it also so that everyone gets different results. Where, like for example, for me, Mephisto is consistently and rather effortlessly dispatching any null I face, besides the really tanky ones. The ones who he can't kill are fast enough before they get super guard break immunity back from the CTP after their debuff removal is off cooldown. But for the weaker ones, he's killing them rather effortlessly, while Marine is having a different result. He is killing sentries, but isn't killing nulls, which is the reverse for me.
Yeah, it really relies on each one's builds and tests and the accounts that they really face, which is why we see this fluctuation between Mephisto, where some put him at top 10, top 3, etc.
Yeah, and also something else. Mephisto, he's not a team killer. No matter what you do, he's kind of like a new. He's kind of like a new Wolverine. He can kill almost anyone. He does have counters, but he can kill. He just you should not expect him to do more than kill 1 or even 2 opponents, because that's as far as he's going to get. And some people are expecting him to do more and just saying he's worse because he can't do it.
Those people that expect more shouldn't really try to place like their own rankings, because honestly, him being able to kill 1 or 2 is good enough on it that he was not mainly made for PvP. Like, it's
Yeah,
shocking to see that he's able to kill at least even 2 in a team. Like, sure,
yes,
3.
yeah. That's more aimed at, because he doesn't have he doesn't have debuff removal on his skills. He's not like Sentry or Null. He can't remain on
Exactly.
field. Yeah, he can't stay on field indefinitely. And also, that plays a factor in his consistency. If he had it on his iframe Nor, it would be more effective for him. Similar to how it
Absolutely.
is for Sentry and Null. They have Invincible on their iframe Nor, they have debuff removal on it, and it is far more effective on them. Not Mephisto has it as a passive instead, so he has to get hit before it triggers, which can affect whether or not he gets interrupted.
Yeah, exactly. It really relies on how lucky you can get, because if you get hit, you're going to need to hope that Mephisto is fast enough to react and not get stunned or interrupted, and then he can kill at least 1 or 2.
Yeah, and although one very big flaw with him that I'm not going to deny is his actual range compared to his AoE. His full skill is the only one
True.
with the long range and and big AoE. His fifth covers the entire arena timeline, but its actual damage isn't that big. It's very small in comparison. Like Silver Surfer, when he goes to do, I think it's his fourth skill, when he does that,
Yeah.
he will move out of range of Mephisto's fifth, which is really annoying and one of the main issues I have when fighting him with Mephisto.
Yeah, Silver Surfer has a huge range problem too. I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's his little animation where he spins around then moves backwards, something like that. He moves out of the range of Mephisto's fifth skill, which can be annoying as it prevents Mephisto from killing him.
Yeah, which then, because Sentry does that, then your Mephisto is ultimately dead, regardless of the debuff activated or not.
Yeah, evading the AoE can help the two survive and mean that Mephisto can't get the kill because his iframe ignore has double the cooldown duration of sentries and nulls and is only 1 second shorter than Surfer's. So if Surfer moves out of range, he's not going to get the kill on him.
Yep, that is true.
All right, guys. So this has been the Marvel Future Fight podcast. We hope you all enjoyed. We hope you all enjoyed, and I'm going to give a shout out to all your channels. Be sure to subscribe to Malkoth's channel, Tad Dawes, and Lucifer Morningstar's channel. And in the future, hopefully, we can do more podcasts like this where we can discuss Marvel Future Fight.
This was really pleasant, and I do hope that more content creators, if people find this helpful, that more content creators will engage in similar fashion, talk about
Yeah,
problems and of the game and ways to improve the game, guiding players on what to do, talk about the meta, because people are maybe building characters without knowing why are they building them. So giving people proper advice is something that will hopefully make those players keep playing this game and keep the game alive.
Yep,
yeah,
we're changing MFF culture one step at a time, guys. Thank you all for being here.
yeah.
Thank you very much
Fun
for
to do.
having us here.
Looking
Yep.
forward to the next one.